right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, and we are about to begin our Pentecost celebration, which is our Feast of Weeks, where we know that we are to have an appearance by all the males. When we consider what the appearance is, it is an intimate meeting between the men and the God of Israel. When you consider what it is, Yahweh made man, and the woman was made for the man. But when you deal with Yahweh's creation, there is some things that he requires of his creation, and he deals directly in the way that creation was done, which is beginning with the man. We're going to start tonight in Genesis chapter 3. And let's start at verse 6. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 6. So we have read the things before about how to prepare yourself as you are getting ready to make your appearance unto Yahweh and preparing for those things. But what we have to see is, in the beginning, man was already closer to Yahweh. It was sin that caused that separation, and sin continues to cause a separation between us and our Elohim. This is why it is a very, very horrible doctrine that teaches there's nothing that you can do to lose your salvation. When it was sin that causes the separation between us and our Elohim in the beginning, and it continues all throughout the story of this book. So that is a really horrible doctrine that is getting a lot of people in serious jeopardy when it comes to their salvation. Genesis chapter 3, and let's start that at verse 6.
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim amongst the trees of the garden.
Right, and they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. We're talking about Yahweh just being able to go amongst this garden and be in the presence of man in the beginning of things. Go ahead.
And Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam and said unto him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told you that you was naked? Have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not eat?
So without the knowledge of nakedness, Yahweh had not held the nakedness against them. But as soon as the knowledge of them being naked was there, now being naked is held against them. Jump to verse 17.
And unto Adam he said, Because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife.
Right. You have hearkened unto the voice of your wife because I gave you instructions. Man was not deceived. Man made a decision. Go ahead.
And have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake. In sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread, till you return unto the ground. For out of it was you taken, for dust you are, and unto dust shall you return.
Right. There was no mandate given for death, because there was no death before this thing. There was not something that had to be talked about. But now, since this transgression, now there's going to be death. Now, burial has to be discussed. So you have a lot of people that now want to get cremated and they want to do all of these things. Yahweh said, "From the ground you were taken, and it's to the ground that you're supposed to go back to." Go ahead.
And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahweh Elohim make coats of skins, and clothed them. And Yahweh Elohim said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever.
Right. When you deal with the making coats of skins, the fig leaves were not an adequate covering. Then, of course, what we're looking at here is a sacrifice that we were not even aware of. He didn't even tell them what that was, but blood must be shed to make an atonement for sin. So now that this thing is done, man is now able to become as one of us, to know good and evil. Now, there has to be a separation, lest man then eats from this tree of life and lives forever. So with all of the deception that happened in this paradise, you notice that the adversary, the devil, did not lead the serpent to get them to eat from that tree. He led them to eat from the tree of knowledge, not from the tree of life. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 3 and verse 23. Therefore Yahweh Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life.
So now Yahweh has made a separation. Therefore Yahweh Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden. So now this place, there is now a separation between Yahweh and man because of this thing. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 16.
Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 1. Again the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations, and say, Thus said the Adonai Yahweh unto Jerusalem, Your birth and your nativity is of the land of Canaan. Your father was an Amorite, and your mother an Hittite.
That the land that was taken for us was Canaan land. And when you understand who the Canaanites, these were people that we know as Africans. These were the people who had the land before us. Go ahead.
And as for your nativity, in the day you was born, your navel was not cut, neither was you washed in water to supple you. You was not salted at all, nor swaddled at all. None I pitied you, to do any of these unto you, to have compassion upon you. But you was cast out into the open field, to the loathing of your person, in the day that you was born. And when I passed by you, and saw you polluted in your own blood, I said unto you, when you was in your blood, live. Yes, I said unto you, when you was in your blood, live. I have caused you to multiply as the bud of the field, and you have increased and waxen great, and you are come to excellent ornaments. Your breasts are fashioned, and your hair is grown, whereas you was naked and bare. Now when I passed by you, and looked upon you, behold, your time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over you, and covered your nakedness.
When he says, I spread my skirt over you, we entered into a covenant. We became married. Go ahead.
Yes, I swear unto you, and entered into a covenant with you, said the Adonai Yahweh, and you became mine.
That's what that means when it says, I spread my skirt over you. Go ahead.
Then washed I you with water. Yes, I thoroughly washed away your blood from you, and I anointed you with oil. I clothed you also with broidered work, and shod you with badger skin. And I girded you about with fine linen, and I covered you with silk. I decked you also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon your hands, and a chain on your neck. And I put a jewel on your forehead, and earrings in your ears, and a beautiful crown upon your head. Thus was you decked with gold and silver. Your garment was of fine linen, and silk, and broidered work. You did eat fine flour, and honey, and oil, and you was exceeding beautiful, and you did prosper into a kingdom. And your renown went forth among the heathen for your beauty. For it was perfect through my comeliness, which I had put upon you.
It was perfect through my comeliness, which I put upon you. Go ahead.
But you did trust in your own beauty, and played the harlot because of your renown, and poureth out your fornications on everyone that passed by. His it was.
Now consider, Yahweh has already had an issue with the adversary, the devil. He was beautiful in everything, and all of these wonderful things was his covering, and then he trusted in his own beauty, and then revolted against Yahweh. Then you got, here come Israel. Here come man. Yahweh said, let us make man. We turn around and do the same thing the devil did. He cover us, wash us off, make us clean, put some jewels on us, and we do the same thing that the adversary the devil did. We don't need you no more. Thank you. We appreciate it. Go ahead.
Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 16. And of your garments you did take, and decketh your high places with divers colors, and played the harlot thereupon. The like things shall not come, neither shall it be so. You have also taken my of my gold and of my silver, which I had given you, and made to yourself images of men, and did commit whoredom with them.
So you took my money that I gave you and used it to worship these false gods. Go ahead.
And took your broidered garments and covered them, and you had set mine oil and my incense before them. My meat also which I gave you, fine flour and oil and honey, wherewith I fed you, you have even set it before them for a sweet savor. And thus it was, said the Adonai Yahweh. Moreover, you have taken your sons and your daughters, whom you have borne unto me, and these have you sacrificed unto them to be devoured. Is this of your whoredoms a small matter?
Right. Today what we do is we call it, we don't just straight offer up the child to die, but we'll go up and christen the child, take it up to one of them pagans and let them put all white clothing on the baby and throw water on the baby. Now the baby's supposed to be christened. It's supposed to be like a little baby baptism. Baby ain't did not one sin. But then you offer up the baby to these little devils who doing all manner of wickedness. So we offering up those same ones that Yahweh said, those sons belong to me, those children are mine. Then we turn up and dedicate them to the adversary, the devil, not knowing that's what we're doing. Thinking we were doing something nice. Go ahead.
That you have slain my children and delivered them to cause them to pass through the fire for them. And in all your abominations and your whoredoms, you have not remembered the days of your youth, when you was naked and bare and was polluted in your blood.
Right, because we have selective amnesia. See, we forget all the things that Yahweh has brought us from. All we think about is right now, whatever it is we got going on right now. We've completely forgotten the problems that Yahweh has brought us through and where we were. Go ahead.
That was verse 22.
Jump to verse 30.
How weak is your heart, saith the Adonai Yahweh, seeing you does all these things, the work of an imperious, whorish woman, in that you built your eminent place in the head of every way, and maketh your high place in every street, and have not been as an harlot, in that you scorneth hire, but as a wife that committeth adultery, which takes strangers instead of her husband.
You have to really look at verse 31. And you have not been like a harlot. Because, see, a whore got sense enough to get paid. See, a whore got common sense. The whore said, well, you can let that $25 for that right there. What you need, well, they're going to be 50. Now I'm running a combo special where you can get both of these. See, the whore got common sense. The whore got at least sense enough to put a price tag on it. But he says, but as a wife that committeth adultery, which takes strangers instead of her husband. At least the whore has sense enough to get some money. Go ahead.
Verse 33. They give gifts to all whores, but you give your gifts to all your lovers, and hires them, that they may come on to you on every side for your whoredom.
Right. When you ever seen a whore passing out gifts, instead of her getting paid, I'll pay you to come in here. What kind of, you ain't gonna be able to stay in business. This is what we do. We take all our money to them big whorehouses on the corner, and the reason they call a whorehouse, why she's called a harlot, every god is worshipped inside that church. All them gods that we learn to worship them inside that church. Ashtaroth, Easter is one god. That Christmas god is a whole nother different god. We equate that all to one so-called religion. All those are different gods. They Valentine's Day, they Mother's Day, all of those were different gods. They put all them gods, sat them in one place. So when you go there, you are going to a whorehouse. And people don't understand that that's where they are. If every god is worshipped there, how is that not whoredom? Yet we look down on somebody if they go to a real physical whorehouse. Look at him. No, I can't believe he's going in now. You just came out of what? You fresh out the whorehouse. Some of y'all still got them whorehouse thoughts in your head. Wondering why we ain't set up, do the envelopes have little numbers on them for each offering? No, that's your whorehouse thoughts. Get them out of here. We don't do the whorehouse thoughts. See? If you're wondering if we're going to do things like the whorehouse, how do you come out of the whorehouse, come in Yahweh's house, but want Yahweh's house to be just like the whorehouse? That ain't going to work. You're going to have to leave the whorehouse mentality at the whorehouse. Go ahead.
Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 34. And the contrary is in you from other women in your whoredoms, whereas none followeth you to commit whoredoms, and in that you giveth a reward, and no reward is given unto you. Therefore you are contrary. Wherefore, O harlot, hear the word of Yahweh.
Wherefore, O harlot, hear the word of Yahweh. So when we consider these things, you see the sin causes separation in the beginning. This separation grows from generation to generation. There's a reason why Yahweh said, when your children see you doing these things, you tell these children why you're doing what you're doing, so that these things will begin to be a part of their traditions. And the adversary, the devil, has gotten in the mix and now have given us these other traditions. So now we've gotten to the point where we have kept all of these other strange traditions and these strange ways, and they've gotten to be what's dear to our heart, to the point that when you start reading the things out of this book, people automatically fight against those things because we've gotten accustomed to the ways of the adversary. Let's go to Exodus chapter 33. As we stated earlier, Yahweh is a jealous Elohim. So he watches the effort that we put put into all of those things, and then he watches the effort that we put into serving him. That's why he likens all of this other worship, he likens it unto spiritual adultery. He said, because I'm married unto you, Israel. Your walls are continually before me. Exodus 33, and let's start that at verse 1.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Depart and go up hence, you and the people which you have brought out of the land of Egypt, unto the land which I swear unto Abraham, to Esaac, and to Jacob, saying, Unto your seed will I give it. And I'll send an angel before you, and I'll drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite.
Right, I will send an angel before you, who's going to do all of these things. But like it was told unto Moshe, I'm going to send an angel before you, but don't you provoke him, for he will not pardon your transgression. For my name is in him. Meaning he has the power to destroy you at any given time. He ain't got to pause and come and ask nobody. He already has the authority. That's what we have to learn how to do. We have to learn how to be in the presence of holy things without causing us some problems. If you pay attention, Genesis got paradise, automatically got kicked out of paradise. Because we're not conducting ourselves when in the correct manner when we're in the presence of holy things. Man has always sinned. Man has always done things that were not quite right. But that is magnified when you do those things in one of these places where the angel of Yahweh has come and set up shop to do work. Now you're in some pretty deep trouble. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Unto a land flowing with milk and honey. For I'll not go up in the midst of you, for you are a stiff-necked people, lest I consume you in the way.
I will not go up in the midst of you. Once again, there has to then be a separation between Yahweh and the people whom he loves. Because they just ain't going to act right. He can tell them whatever. He can go through all of these things. And we agree to everything. Yeah, all you have said we will do. But he got to make a separation. Say, because I can't go up in the midst of you. Because I'm going to end up killing you if you keep standing here. Go ahead.
And when the people heard these evil tidings, they mourned. And no man did put on him his ornaments. For Yahweh said unto Moshe, Say unto the children of Israel, You are a stiff-necked people. I'll come up into the midst of you in a moment and consume you. Therefore now put off your ornaments from you, that I may know what to do unto you.
When you talk about a stiff-necked people, Israel, we got a habit of, riding it out all the way to the end. And we know we're wrong in point number one. I think it was me and you that was talking about the brother who had stole the Babylonish garment, and he hid it. Now you got this whole ordeal that's got to go down, where they calling them man by man, tribe by tribe, family by family. They got to break this all the way down, all the way till they get to the dude who has stolen this Babylonish garment. Now, 33 some odd people done already got killed because he stole this Babylonish garment, and then the angel of Yahweh stepped away from him. See, this is how we have to, understand that the angel of Yahweh goes amongst us to help us do the things that we got to do. But then when we get out of line, that angel steps back. Now you by yourself. Soon as we stepped out of the way, the angel stepped out of the way, 33 people dead, just like that. Now these 33 people, they ain't stolen it. Okay? The dude who stole something still walking around. He's still walking around. He's still doing his own thing. There's 33 people over here dead because he done stole something. But then he stole something and then put it amongst all the other stuff. So then you got to go through this whole big ordeal. Then get down to the one dude. Then Yahshua got to say, make confession on what you've done. All right, I've done it. Bro, you could have saved us about 12 hours here, brother. We done got all these people out here. But see, that's us. See, it's still in our mind that maybe we gonna trick Yahweh. See? Maybe I'm still smarter than Yahweh. Maybe Yahweh won't really find out. See? So we take it all the way down to the wire. Well, we could have stopped that whole process. Hey, I did it. My bad. My bad. That was my bad. Who knows if there would have been some kind of mercy in us making confession on our own. But that's what stiff-necked people do. We take it all the way down to the wire. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 33 and verse 6. And the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by the Mount Horeb. And Moshe took the tabernacle and pitched it without the camp, afar off from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of the congregation.
And Moshe took the tabernacle and pitched it outside the camp, afar off from the camp. Once again, a separation from holy things. Because sooner or later, you're going to end up getting killed. Because you're going to keep being stiff-necked. At least this way, if you separate the tabernacle from the midst of them, at least you can get your mind right before you come. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 33 and verse 7. End of verse 7. And it came to pass that everyone which sought Yahweh went out onto the tabernacle of the congregation, which was without the camp.
Right. So you can't then claim you didn't know you were going to see Yahweh. So you come with your stiff neck situation. There's no cloak for your sin. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when Moshe went out onto the tabernacle, that all the people rose up and stood every man at his tent door and looked after Moshe until he was gone into the tabernacle. And it came to pass, as Moshe entered into the tabernacle, the cloudy pillar descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and Yahweh talked with Moshe. And all the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the tabernacle door, and all the people rose up and worshipped, every man in his tent door. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe face to face, as a man speaks unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp. But his servant Yahshua, the son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. And Moshe said unto Yahweh, See, you saith unto me, Bring up this people, and you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found grace in my sight. Now therefore, I pray you, if I have found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you, that I may find grace in your sight, and consider that this nation is your people.
So what he wants now is to get a better relationship with Yahweh. If I have found grace in your sight, show me your way, that I may know you. So he wants to know Yahweh in a deeper way. Go ahead.
And he said, My presence shall go with you, and I'll give you rest. And he said unto him, If your presence go not with me, carry us not up hence. For wherein shall it be known here that I and your people have found grace in your sight? Is it not in that you goeth with us? So shall we be separated, I and your people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, I will do this thing also that you have spoken, for you found grace in my sight, and I know you by name. And he said, I beseech you, show me your glory. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I'll proclaim the name of Yahweh before you.
So show me your way. Now he wants to go even farther than that now. Now show me your glory. How deep do we seek Yahweh? Go ahead.
And will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. And he said, You cannot see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. And Yahweh said, Behold, there is a place by me, and you shall stand upon a rock. And it shall come to pass, while my glory passes by, that I'll put you in a cleft of the rock, and will cover you with my hand while I pass by. And I'll take away my hand, and you shall see my back parts, but my face shall not be seen.
So we see that Israel as a whole cannot be that close to Yahweh our Elohim because of the sins that we end up committing. But Yahweh then found an intercessor who can be in his presence, who will then make intercession, will make, be this go-between between the children of Israel and Yahweh. So Moshe is that first one, and Yahshua was the second one. Let's go to Revelation chapter 21. So even with all of the things that were given unto the children of Israel and all the great things that Yahweh has stated, at the same time, there has to be a separation between Yahweh, the tabernacle of Yahweh, and the children of Israel. It can't just be amongst us like that while we walk in the sins of our flesh. Revelation chapter 21, and let's start that at verse 1.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, Yohanan, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Elohim out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Elohim himself shall be with them, and be their Elohim.
Now, because after having these situations worked out and being able to walk the way that we're supposed to, verse 3, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men. We were separated from the tabernacle before. The tabernacle had to be set apart from us. Now, in the end of things, you find that it is back the way it was in the beginning of things. He walked amongst them in the cool of the day. You got to get to the end of the book just to get back to the beginning of the book. Behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he will dwell with them. He said, I can't stay by y'all. I'm going to have to kill you. Y'all going to have to go somewhere. I love you, but you got to go. Because you're still stiff-necked. And I'm trying to show you my way, but if I stay near you, my glory going to tear you up. But now, we see at the end, we back to the original plan that he set in the beginning, walking amongst us. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And Elohim shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away.
Now remember, that man in the beginning was able to stick his hand in the ground and pull out whatever he want. Wasn't no death in the garden. So now we back to what it was supposed to be in the beginning. See, all this part in the middle of the book, all this is happening so we can get back to page number 1. We got to go through all this so we can get back to page 1. See, it's consequences for every action. This is why it's so dangerous for us to get that doctrine. You can do whatever you want and still attain unto your salvation. Do you understand that first thing caused all this right here? So when we read what's in the end in Revelation, it mirrors up with what's in the beginning. But all this got to happen. And somebody going to tell you that you can still do whatever you want and attain unto your salvation. If that's the case, then none of that make no sense. What we got this for? Throw this out. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I'll give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcomes shall inherit all things, and I'll be his Elohim, and he shall be my son.
He that overcomes. There's some overcoming that we have to do. To believe that you can just do absolutely nothing and just smile and sing your way into the kingdom don't really make much sense. Go ahead.
But the fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
Out of all of that, the saddest part is liars. Liars is held at the same level as the abominable, murderers, and whoremongers and sorcerers. So witches in the same place with liars. That's a bad situation. That all these other people have done all these evil things, and you get thrown in a lake of fire because you can't stop lying. You can't stop lying, you might as well go ahead and kill some people. What? Go for the gusto. Don't just be, that was our brother, going to jail for a speeding ticket. You gonna go to jail, brother? Go to jail. Don't go halfway to jail, go all the way out. If a brother on his third strike, and he know, hey, if I get locked up this time, it ain't gonna be pretty. That brother ain't going to jail for no ticket. When they come get him, they wanted to come get me. Brother, no, hey, cause he ain't come back home. You gonna lie? Go ahead and do everything else. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away into the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from Elohim, having the glory of Elohim, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates.
All back to this original family. Go ahead.
And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And he that talked with me had a golden reed to measure the city, and the gates thereof, and the wall thereof. And the city lieth 4 square, and the length is as large as the breadth.
Go to verse 22.
And I saw no temple therein, for the Adonai Elohim Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it.
Now, we had to be separated from all of those things before. Now, this is amongst us. There's no temple therein, for Yahweh Elohim Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. Go ahead.
And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of Elohim did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it.
They do bring their glory and their honor into it. They have to pay their respect to the King of Kings. Do understand this is the end of all things. Go ahead.
And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it. And there shall in no wise enter in anything that defiles, neither whatsoever works abomination or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life.
Right. All of those things that are not acceptable will not be in that kingdom. Let's go to Exodus chapter 34. Exodus chapter 34, and let's read verses 19 through 24.
All that opens the matrix is mine, and every firstling among your cattle, whether ox or sheep, that is male. But the firstling of an ass you shall redeem with a lamb. And if you redeem him not, then should you break his neck. All the firstborn of your sons you shall redeem, and none shall appear before me empty. 6 days you shall work, but on the seventh day you shall rest. In airing time and in harvest you shall rest. And you shall observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end.
Verse 22, and you shall observe the feast of weeks of the first fruit of your wheat harvest. So all of these things, our people have gotten so far away from any kind of farming that we don't even consider these things of what this feast of weeks is, the first fruits of your wheat harvest. Go ahead.
3 times in the year shall all your men children appear before the Adonai Yahweh, the El of Israel. For I will cast out the nations before you, and enlarge your borders, neither shall any man desire your land, when you shall go up to appear before the Adonai Yahweh your Elohim 3 times in the year.
So if you do what you're supposed to do, you can turn around and leave your land, and people won't even go and mess with your land. Consider you talking about all of these people going to one place at a particular time. That's going to leave a whole lot of things empty. Yahweh said, you do what you're supposed to do, I'm going to make it to where they're not going to even look upon your land. You know, nowadays you go out of town, you got to try to trick people and make them think you still there. Because you let Jake know you gone. Jake be all up in your house cooking and all kind of stuff. You be taking your stuff slow, you know what I'm saying? He be trying on your shirts. It fit me nice. Because he know you gone. So folk have to disguise stuff, turn radios on and leave it on. Ain't nobody there. Because if somebody find out, hey, they been gone for a little minute. We finna go up in there. But Yahweh has put his protection over us if we do what we're supposed to do. Let's go to Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 6 and 7.
Job chapter 1 and verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Whence cometh you?
He ain't said what you doing here. He said where you come from. The sons of Elohim are coming to make their appearance, and Lucifer is one of those angels, and he has to make his appearance as well. Go ahead.
Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it.
Right. And he knows that that's where he's supposed to be. So when you consider what happened in the garden, understand who caused what was happening in the garden. Yahweh didn't say, well, why you keep going back and forth up and down in the earth? That's where you're supposed to be. That's why when you start reading, it says, you have slain your people. You have done all of these things. Right. He was the one supposed to be watching it. Go to chapter 2.
Job chapter 2 and verse 1. Again there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them to present himself before Yahweh.
Right. He came again. So here we go. Back-to-back chapters. The angels are making their appearance just like it is set for us to make our appearance. Keep reading that.
And Yahweh said unto Satan, From whence come you? And Satan answered Yahweh and said, From going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down in it.
Right. So he knows what he is about. He knows where he's going back and forth to. He has that authority to do those things. So when we consider these appearances, we have to remember what the example of a prayer says. Let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. So we see appearances here in heaven. How are we to believe that we're not supposed to do these in earth? When you consider, people say, okay, Yeshua has nailed all of these things to the cross. What I got to do with the angels? What I got to do with Lucifer? He's still making his appearance. See, we want to divide this book, into these two sections, and then we say, all right, well, we just dealing with this back section. What I got to do with Lucifer or these angels who making their appearance? How did that change their appearances? Let's go to Leviticus chapter 23. So that's the real slickness of the adversary. To tell us that we ain't got no business trying to follow no law. Meanwhile, he go and make all his appearances every time he supposed to make them. You just not finding out about appearances. He been keeping them for thousands of years. He up there every time. Hey, Yahweh, how you doing? He making an appearance every time. Done told you ain't got to be worried about that stuff. You can't get no more deceptive than that. Yet, been going by churches, and these people got Pentecost on their sign from church to church. They getting ready to celebrate Pentecost tomorrow. Hadn't kept Passover. Hadn't kept Feast of First Fruits. Don't know anything about a new moon. Yet, they still somehow got their Pentecost on the exact same day as us. How is that possible? Passed by one church on the way here, packed with that optional Saturday service. No, you affecting people. See, whether you know it or not. Those things that you post on the internet, those things, people don't say nothing to you, but they go back and they ask their pastor, why we ain't doing this? And he ignored the first 2, 3, 4, 5. But when 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 start showing up, he got to figure something out. Now here comes the optional service. All right, well, we'll make a Saturday service. So that way, next time they run into you, yeah, I went to church on Saturday too. Sometimes. What you mean? What are you talking about? Right. Then they pull out that optional service. But that's because you doing what you're doing. You don't know it's having an impact, but you got to keep doing it. Leviticus chapter 23, and let's start that at verse 15.
And you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Shabbat, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Shabbats shall be complete.
So now we're talking about Passover, then Feast of Unleavened Bread, then the Feast of First Fruits that is within that week. Then we count 7 Sabbaths from the point where you made your first fruit offering. Now tell me how Sunday keepers end up having the same day we got. They ain't kept no Passover. They kept Easter. And then you got to ask yourself, how you count 7 Sabbaths if you thought Sunday was a Sabbath? No, man, you got to ask the right questions. How you count 7 Sabbaths and then the next day if you thought Sunday was a Sabbath? I'm trying to tell y'all, they know. You keep thinking that these people don't know. They know what they're doing. The leaders, I mean, not the people sitting in the seat. They don't know. They just like us. They trying to do, some of them. They trying to do right. They just don't know no better. But they're leaders. For them to get Pentecost on the exact same day that we got it, they know something. They counted all of this. Either that or they just wait. Let's just wait to see when Sock put their days up, and then we'll put us on. Yeah, they gotta love mimicking website, whatsockgot.com. They just, let's just set up, and then everything Sock get, we put it on that website. Now we go on there and we look at whatsockgot.com. Yeah, okay. Right.
That means that Pentecost should be on Monday then.
Hey, it should be on Monday if they thought Sunday was their Sabbath. Because it's supposed to be the next day. But how they still have theirs on Sunday? That means they know when the Sabbath is, but they just not going to keep it. Right. Go ahead.
Verse 16. Even unto the morrow after the seventh Shabbat shall you number 50 days. And you shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh. You shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2 tenth deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto Yahweh.
They are the first fruits unto Yahweh. That's you. You are the first fruits unto Yahweh, Israel. They shall be baking with leaven. Yahweh accepts you even with your sin. Leaven is a representation of sin. Go ahead.
And you shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto Yahweh, with their meat offering, and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto Yahweh. Then you shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahweh. With the 2 lambs, they shall be holy to Yahweh for the priests. And you shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be an holy convocation unto you. You shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations.
In all your dwellings throughout your generations. So wherever you live, this is still valid. So you got a whole lot of people saying, well, we can't do these things because we're not in our land. That's why Yahweh took away this whole thing of the sacrificial offering part of it. Go ahead.
And when you reapeth the harvest of your land, you shall not make clean riddance of the corners of your field when you reap it. Neither shall you gather any gleaning of your harvest. You shall leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am Yahweh, your Elohim.
All right, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 16. Deuteronomy chapter 16, and let's start that at verse 9.
Verse 9. 7 weeks shall you number unto you. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as you begin to put the sickle to the corn. And you shall keep the feast of weeks unto Yahweh your Elohim with a tribute of a freewill offering of your hand, which you shall give unto Yahweh your Elohim, according as Yahweh your Elohim have blessed you.
According as Yahweh your Elohim have blessed you. Now we know what happens, because I've watched one of those Pentecost services that they do, and they telling them people they need to bring 500 or 1,000 now. They got to bring a seed off, and apparently you can only buy a seed for $500. I don't know what kind of seeds they plant. Some pretty big seeds for $500, but they call it a seed off. You need 500 or 1,000 to do it. This book says, as Yahweh have blessed you. How everybody know how Yahweh bless you? How everybody supposed to figure that out? And how everybody have the same blessing? One dude a chemical engineer, the other dude work at UPS. How they have the same blessing? See, there's something wrong here. That's why they want to keep this Pentecost, because they making merchandise out of Yahweh's people. But let them go ahead and have their fun, because Yahweh going to take care of his business in the end. Go ahead.
That was verse 10.
Keep going.
Okay. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim, you and your son and your daughter, and your manservant and your maidservant, and the Levite that is within your gates, and the stranger and the fatherless, and the widow that are among you, in the place which Yahweh your Elohim has chosen to place his name there. And you shall remember that you was a bondman in Egypt, and you shall observe and do these statutes.
All right, jump to verse 16.
3 times in a year shall all your males appear before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. And they shall not appear before Yahweh empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you.
Right. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you. We are going to get prepared to make our appearance, all the males, and for all of those who are spread out. We know that you guys would normally make your appearance with us as well from where you are. What you do is you face the east, remove your head covering, and offer up prayers for you and your family as we do those things. And we're going to do that together. How much time do you think we need?
Ready.
Everything is ready.
Okay.
Right here, I have. I'll go by here. I got 9:53 Eastern Standard. So we're going to make our appearance at 10 p.m. So we got about 6 minutes. We already set up. So for all the other people who are spread about and you want to make your appearance at the same time that we make ours, we will be outside at 10 o'clock. That's all that we're going to do. Enjoy your Sabbath. Shalom.